I think what's interesting about Germany is, look, it's been a relatively strong economy in the last several years. Um, Germany had undergone a banking crisis back in 2001, 2002. So actually, it didn't experience some of the same run-up in values that some of the other markets in Europe experienced, which meant that sort of the distressed element in Germany wasn't as acute. But yet there are conduit securitizations and some bilateral situations where there was over leverage, and so we can access those in different ways, which is sort of interesting. The other thing that's particularly interesting about Germany is we've got reasonably good clarity on rental levels in different markets, and we focus predominantly on office assets, and we do some residential redevelopment work. So with the clarity on rental levels and also relative stability on exit pricing, we have a pretty good visibility on where pricing should be when we want to sell an asset, which allows us to sort of back into pricing that's we know what we can pay for things today. We're not relying on a lot of market volatility to generate returns. So that's why Germany's interesting. I think there are other markets in Europe which could become interesting. It's just a function of when dynamics play out.
You've obviously got American investors coming into your fund. What's the interest for them? Is there an increase in interest from the US in terms of the distressed situation in Europe?
Well, I think for us, we're a small targeted niche fund. We focus predominantly on Germany. We do most of the operational work ourselves. So what's interesting for investors is we've kind of compressed the traditional opportunity fund model. Most opportunity funds tend to allocate capital to joint venture partners. We tend to do all of that work in-house. As it relates to their interest in Europe, I guess part of it's just that it happens that we saw a niche in the market, a gap where we could fulfill this sort of opportunity fund model, and it didn't exist in Germany. So I think what's interesting is that we don't have a lot of competition. So for these American investors that want access to this type of investing, we are one of the only providers of sort of, a full spectrum across the debt to equity spectrum, doing opportunistic investments where we manage the assets. So that's what's interesting for them. In general, their appetite for Europe, I think most American investors are a little bit hesitant. They tend to think of Europe as one monolithic entity, whereas in reality, those of us that live here know that it's sort of, you've got multiple countries and you've got multiple jurisdictions and different issues. So I think we can also make it a little easier for them because we narrow it down like, look, we're in Germany, this is what we do, this is how we do it.